Yes, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. Welcome today on Uganda Crossroads. It's another weekend of the year. It's one of those days that we celebrate because we are living, because you are here today to join me as I also join you to have a discussion on the key things that are happening in the country today. So last week was one of those, best weeks for me that I realized that politics of Uganda is still always, we're going to have the same kind of story, new leaders coming up, new aspirants coming up. And of course, just as we're waiting for 2021, everyone is making very tough decisions and also promises that some will fulfill and others will never fulfill at any point, any day. But this week, remember, we've seen General Henry Tumukunde declaring that he's going to stand as a presidential candidate 2021. We already know Bobby Wine, who Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi is also going to stand. We now know, again, 24 of them are aspiring for this seat. Now the question is, who is the best? You and I will continue discussing until the last day that these people get into that office. Probably we know at least Museveni or Kyagulanyi or anybody. But that's not the end of the story. Other generals in the army are also complaining about the government. As the public is complaining, the generals are complaining, everyone is complaining. But those who are celebrating, so you cannot say that the game is just one coin or the one side of the coin. You have to look into all sides to see what happens. So today I'm joined with a very huge team, and everyone is going to give us their perspective into what they are saying or what they hope will happen in 2021 or even before then. So I'm joined by a very great team, 4 gentlemen. Oh, three men and 1 lady. So guys, I want to thank you for joining me today. I want to thank you, Ed, Jumba, Richard Myombia, Dennis Senyawa, and of course, intentionally, I would say, I want to thank you, Sarah. Did you have a nice week?
I did.
All right, so before I bring you in, to our viewers everywhere from whichever part of the world you're watching us from, please, today give us your comments, your suggestions. We're going to talk about a couple of things, from General Tumukunde's situation to Mohamed Seglinya, whether the bribe was right as he was standing against other members of the opposition or not. And of course, other stories from Bobby Wine and Mohoz, how they're fighting against each other. So I want to thank you so much. Guys, this has been a very interesting week for me politically. I wasn't mad. I was just happy. Of course, somehow I was disappointed by some of you in your position, but I should say everything was okay. So let me start with Dennis. Dennis, did you have a nice week? The last time we were here, you had a very tough week because of what was going on in your party, but this week, was it good?
This week is, I guess it's worse.
Literally, it's not a happy week for me because, one, we lost in the speakership, leadership position at KCCA.
Right.
And there was also a lot of controversy in that regards. We believe we had been played by the NRM in this effect. So it's not really a good week. We are trying to recover from the unfortunate.
You admit that NRM defeated you. I'll come back to you.
They will ostensibly believe.
I'll come back to you and I'll finish up with Sarah. Jumba, how was your week politically? Not just personal life, but politically. How was it?
My week was very interesting. So much development, both in terms of what is happening at home and also what happens here. I was intrigued the way Joe Biden made a recovery. Someone who he rose from the dead politically to be the
flag bearer of democracy now.
He might be, but in politics, a week is an eternity.
All right.
So we don't know what may happen between now and then, but I'm happy now.
Richard, anything interesting that you had this week? Politically, not your personal life.
No. Politically, it was a very interesting week for me. First of all, I want to encourage people what happened to Uweru. That Uweru, the man who is to call himself a giant, that he has so this, what they call the Holy Spirit movement, that God is talking to him for a purpose in Uganda. I was so surprised that he's mad, which was so good to us as the opposition. When I get time, I will explain to you. The other thing was this, the son of President Museveni, able to call Honorable Kyagulanyi and be able to willing to talk. Because now the issue is upon we as people power, which way we are going. Do we go into direct talks or we should go the international way. That was very interesting.
All right, so
we shall talk about it
we
later.
shall bring it up. Sarah, you look so good. How was your week? Did you have any problems?
No.
You didn't have any problems. How was your week politically?
Amazing. A lot, definitely politically, a lot is happening in Uganda. And intriguing, very interesting insights for us to be here and sit here and discuss. And I think I'm ready to break it down.
All right, thank you. So, you know, I'm going to start with the Dennis. For one reason, you mentioned about the KCCA. You lost the vote. Everyone was expecting probably Doreen Nyanjula to become the first speaker of that council, but things don't turn out the way you expected. Where did you go wrong?
Thank you, viewers, wherever you're watching us from. I do not want to say that we really lost, but this losing was not in good faith. Apparently, we have come to notice that the NRM is now using its tricks to make sure that the opposition is weakened totally. Even if it meant by them uniting with the contestant who happened to be from the opposition side, because the opposition now has so many blocks. There is People Power, there is FDC, there is DP, there is PP, there are so many. So they are willing to give any amount of money to that person so that that person can buy the voters in that context. When they give money, it's not direct. Money is given either in the night, then it is distributed to whosoever is going to vote. And I'm telling you, the voters are very vulnerable. They are gullible people. Anything can change their mind. Be it 1,000, as we saw Segirinya. I bet if that was much money, it was 5,000. Segirinya was dishing out. So at this point, people are gullible. They need to eat, and they are not caring who is coming to lead them. They are not looking at the future. They are looking at the 4 feet of their legs, just there. Whatever they can find, that's what they'll consume. Tomorrow after tomorrow or week after week, they are not scared about that. So that is the problem we are facing. Burhan conniving with, what is his name, Kawalia, to be the deputy speaker. In good faith, it would be okay.
In other words, you're confirming that NRM...
I am confirming that.
Because you did not win as FDC,
yes,
though everybody was expecting you guys to win.
Even the Secretary General went ahead and congratulated the winner. You know, and I've been in debates with several people online. Others call me and they're telling me, no, for us NRM, we are generous. We give where possible so that the winner comes to be ours. In my constituency, as I talk now, they are trying to persuade my opposition people. They want to buy them. You know, they want to give them money so that I am voted out. Okay, first in primaries. Once these people are given money, they are going to dish it to the electorates in our constituency so that I don't win the primary. I'm already aware about this, and they have called me, and I'm aware people are telling me, hey, do you know what is going on? I'm like, I don't know. But literally, I know the things. NRM is playing its dirty game, and he has started so hard.
All right, Dennis, I will come back to you to ask you about your chances of winning that vote. But
I have a greater chance of winning the vote, and I'm assuring you.
To the lady next to you, Sarah. Sarah, 2 things we know about this vote that happened within KCCA. One, Segirinya got 1 vote. NRM won the deputy position, and People Power won the speakership, which was a very great move. Now, the first question is to you. Segirinya has been very influential on social media. One would say that he has a number of people who could convince these other councillors within the KCCA to vote for him. That did not happen. Is social media lying to these politicians in Uganda?
No, definitely. Social media is not bad, and it has helped so many people understand and participate in the politics of the country, whether on their phones or get to know what is happening. I believe if you do a survey and find out how many people knew about what was happening or that took everything for granted, you're going to find a huge number. But definitely social media has helped. But I think Segirinya failing, partly, myself, I'm going to attribute it to his... I'm going to attribute it to the drama that has been in his life for the last few months. There was a drama with some lady in Sweden, And that was really serious, because sometimes people want one thing people forget: when someone wants to bring you down, especially your political careers, the biggest political careers that have been affected have not been affected by anyone else. They've been affected by women. So that alone, you know, it played out in the media. I saw it all over TV. I saw it everywhere. So that was not really good on his image, especially a public figure who is going into an elective position like for speaker.
And you continue. First of all, I'll bring in these two guys to talk about it. But what we saw was Segilinnya bribing someone because he needed to buy that vote. And I'm wondering whether you guys in opposition is now
the question is
that you're now buying votes to be elected as leaders. What does that represent?
You see, what was funny was I was trying to look at that video. I watched it a number of times and I wanted to see if was the money dashed out after or before, or was he giving? I thought if it was before, then it was so bad, because even the guy he gave money never voted for him. I think as someone who is into elective politics, because I know at one point in time he wanted to run for MP, he needs to go back and sit down and look at his game plan. For starters, he must understand that he's done a good job on social media. But also he needs to do a lot of work on ground, or maybe he underestimated, because sometimes people who are so much on social media underestimate and think because they are known on social media, then they are known everywhere, which is not the truth. Or maybe did not engage these, because sometimes I look at, or people look at Segilinnya more of a comedian than a politician. And that could have affected him as well, because sometimes he jokes too much. That's what I would say. So that could have affected him also, and also the scandals he's been involved in. But I think he still has time. You know, people fail. And the one vote, that should be something that he should sit back and evaluate himself and say. Because, and again, what I don't understand, Segilinnya was standing on the people power ticket, and there was another people power. So again, this should go out for people who are going to do that, because if there's someone standing already on the people power ticket, why go in and standing in also on the same people power ticket? Because you're dividing the opposition vote. So maybe this would be also a lesson to those who think they're going to divide up the opposition vote, that there is always one winner. So just imagine if Segilinnya had supported this other guy, or maybe at some point he felt he was stronger than the guy that was standing on the people power ticket as well. So there is a lot he needs to sit back and evaluate and see what went wrong, what he needs to do better, because he still has a chance in this. He's one of the guys, he has the zeal, he is always fighting, you know, he's not the type who gives up easily. So he has a better chance, but he needs to go back on the drawing board.
I wanted to chip in, just give me 1 minute. Sure. I'm chipping in because the councillors, a few of if not all, are educated, but we also have to look at the education part of this. Being a speaker, you need to be very articulate. You should have read some books and able to.
That Segilinnya is not
he wasn't. So that is why the councillors could not vote him in, because being a speaker, you have to be able to lead officially. You have to be educated. You have to be able to know how to change views in here and there. But if you are not educated, it becomes hard. I request him to go back and do the MPship, because he can be at the back there, at the back bencher. No one will force you to come and discuss in the plenary. Right. But here at KCCA, you must be responsible. You must be able to lead. You must be able to distribute whatever knowledge you have to the community.
All right, sure. Yeah. Thank you. So I want to come to before Richard, I want to come to Jumba. Jumba, like, one of the things that I asked Sarah was, is it a new trend that you people, probably the people who have been advocating for, saying the government is so corrupt, everyone is corrupt? Now that we're seeing members of opposition who are so, one may quote me right, talkative about these issues, bribing others to be voted for as speakers, what does that represent on the side of the opposition, Ed?
The way I can tackle that question, first of all, the clip that has been running on social media doesn't speak much about either Segilinnya or what he was trying to do.
But it speaks much, because when you look at his eye gestures, technically he was guilty. You could clearly tell that he was guilty of what he was doing. The way his hands were moving. I wish my producers had a video today to show the public. But the way his hands were moving, you could clearly tell that he is bribing somebody to vote for him. What does that represent to the opposition?
I still go back to the same clip. If a jury is given that clip to convict Sejirinya, it would not, because you did not see him saying that I'm bribing you or I'm giving you this.
It could have been money for transport.
It could have been money, it could have been a cheat, a note on something, maybe
Exactly.
a discussion. So that's not enough to really wrap up Sejirinya into this corruption. One other thing, Sejirinya is not an official in the opposition. He has no official position in the opposition. So when he's fighting just like any other Ugandan. Number 3, corruption in Uganda affects everyone, even within the opposition. So that is bound to happen. People are bound to be corrupt in the opposition, but that cannot stop us from fighting this fight of liberating our country. So to me, that's how I look at it. Now, on the issue of that KCC speakership election, I still have a problem that until the law that established the Capital City Authority is revisited, they won't do much in the city and about the city as long as that law still disempowers them and gives the power to the executive director. So I still have a problem with that, that even much as we elect these speakers, we have the mayor, we have the councillors, as long as the power of the purse is in the hands of the executive director, as long as the president still micromanages the city through the Minister of Kampala and the executive director, I'm telling you, we have a long way to go. That's my take on that.
That's your take. Richard, you saw how the events were wrapping up. And first of all, secondly, I'm so concerned about him because he's one of those vocal personnel in opposition. But we saw him arguing that there was a lot of corruption, there was a lot of bribery, there was a lot of struggles that were taking place within this election. But what does that mean to you? Especially, he is a member of the People Power Organization. And one, he argues that some of the People Power members were also part of this ruckus that stood against him to get one vote.
Okay, let me tell you. I was born in Uganda and I was born in Kampala. In 1965, I don't hide my years. This is my land. This is my home. Until we solve the conflict of Kampala, because Kampala is a tale of two cities. It's the city, right from the Lancaster Conference, it's the city of Buganda and it's the city of the capital. Even in 1966, between Mutesa, that's how it became. All the massacres that have happened in Uganda is between the city. So we have to solve that thing. Let me go forward with because Sejirinya is a comrade to me. He's a good friend of mine. We even talk. But let me tell you, I cannot reduce myself from fighting for the whole country and for peace, a lasting peace, then fighting for a chair for the speaker. Let me give you Kampala. Let me give you an example.
But it's the capital city of the
yeah, but these things, these are the things that we are contesting for the lasting peace for Uganda. Until we solve that problem, I will fight until we solve that. I went to the bush. I did everything I did. I've been fighting for almost 40 years for that issue. Yes, let me give you an example. Yasser Arafat, when he was solving the conflict, because we are now going to solve a conflict of the country, because now the first son is trying to talk to Honorable Chagwe. Now these are issues that we should not leave behind. Yasser Arafat made a mistake. Instead of fighting for the whole country, the Palestinian land, he fought for a municipality, reduced himself to a municipality. To this day, the issue is not yet solved. Right now, the issue that are contesting for are two things: the land for the Palestinian and the city, which is Jerusalem. So in the conflict that we are going to solve, we shall fight hard that Kampala goes back to Uganda. We shall not fight for mere seat of a speaker. I'm not low to that level. This is where I was born. My father is buried there. My people are buried there. I have one of my son, my daughter buried there.
So you were trying to mean that the credibility of
this thing of Museveni taking the city as an authority. It was
let me take you down. Let me take you down a little bit. There was no Museveni in this election. We had people. Let me first take you down, and I want to bring in before we leave this topic. I think you and Dennis will have a better discussion there. You say that Museveni is part of this struggle within the KCCA, but the question is, when you look at the presidential aspirants who are the speakers who are standing for that post, one, Segirinya, opposition; Doreen Nyanjula, opposition; Kawalia, opposition. Where is Museveni in this?
No. Look. I'm not a fool. I was born there. There's what they call a Kampala City Authority. And the Kampala City, even before the British left the country, left it in a Kampala City, not in the hands of the central government. And Museveni comes. Let me give you an example.
I want to bring in Dennis, but I want to ask you the question. The question is, it's no longer KCCA, it's now Kampala City Authority.
No. All these things in settlement, Kampala shall go back to Uganda. Finish. Let me give you an example. Recently, Nakasero Primary School, a land there, Otafila was caught trying to cheat from the government. Just a few plots for $10 million. Where does land in the whole city cost $2 million? Just a few plots. Because these are the issues. Everyone is fighting for Kampala. Instead of us coming as Uganda and say, look, why don't we develop the whole of Uganda the same? Look at America. Can I go from here and go to Washington, D.C., or New York, which is the capital city of this country? Is there an issue that I'm contesting for? I have a government here in Massachusetts. I have a governor here. The whole country is developed. Why don't we develop the whole country to look at the same as Uganda, as Kampala? Then we all fight and kill ourselves because we are fighting for Kampala.
All right, sure. Dennis, I want to bring you in. Now, this was a post amongst the opposition. There was no NRM this time that was so serious like the way it was with Segirinya People Power, Doreen Nyanjula, FDC, and Kawalia People Power. You were all opposition. You were fighting for the same seat, and you were again fighting against each other, saying there was a lot of bribery, there was a lot of confusion. So who is to blame? You guys are standing and you want to take power, the national office, but even before you take over the national office, you still have these conflicts within these minor posts within the government. How are you going to convince Ugandans?
We are ready to convince Ugandans very positively. Of course, we cannot say we are perfect all the time. There are some times when we go wrong in decision making and maybe in accepting the decision that has been made by the authorities within the opposition. When there was that kind of primaries in FDC, we had some internal challenge. Maybe most people preferred Nyanjura and they wanted to make her go unopposed, but that did not go well with the people in FDC. So it made us almost go into the second round of primaries between Nyanjura and the other people. But putting that aside, Kawalia being the opposition favorite, who has already won, was not very sure about being a people power candidate and was not sure of being a fully independent candidate. So this gave a lot of challenges to the people on the opposition side because Kawalia it was rumored that he was meeting the NRM, and that was relayed in Burhan, giving up the contest for the top seat as a speaker, and he went in for the deputy speaker. So this brings into light that indeed there was a talk between Kawalia and the NRM.
So you accept defeat to the NRM. Dennis, I want to thank you.
I wanted to speak something. Just give me a moment. Sure. I want to reply him. He's talking about federalism over Kampala.
Right.
Okay. Kampala is a metropolitan village for everybody that comes from Uganda. That is our top city that everyone knows. So many people or so many leaders in Uganda contested federalism. For me, I have no problem with federalism. I only need the right policies to be put in place and agreed to by the whole country so that we define what federalism means. Because other people believe that defining federalism is only for Buganda, and they are fearing that if we give Buganda back its federal, the rest will be squatters and there will be challenges. If there's going to be a unifying federalism, it should be the whole country's federalism, where the north is federated by itself, the east is federated, the central, and the west. And after that, we can have the governorship, which he talks about in terms of region. But I was trying to tell him earlier that there is what they call devaluation. If you read about devaluation policies, it's almost similar to federalism. Only that we still have the problem that the president has more powers in devaluation. So that's where we are having a challenge. But going forward, I believe advocating for federal, for the central alone is not a good idea. It should be a unifying federalism that covers the whole country, and the division of resources to be based according to how the regions are located. So that is what I look forward to.
All right, sure, thank you. So guys, I want to take you off from that, but let me bring you into the discussion between Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi and General Muhoozi, the first son of the country. Now, I want to read exactly how their debate was. It was very simple, very few statements, but they were taking a lot of information to us. So, and I will start with Sarah. So, let me start with the Muhoozi because he released his first. Then the following day, we got another information from Bobby Wine or Honorable Kyagulanyi. Now, he said, a lot of my supporters are telling me to sit down and talk to my brother, Bobby Wine. I have no problem talking to him. We talked in the past, and we are friends. I just advise all the youth never to seek war over peace. I want to start with that, Sarah, before I get the response from Honorable Kyagulanyi. First of all, General Muhoozi knows that he has supporters. Does that mean that probably what we've always heard as rumors that maybe
the Muhoozi
project will be the presidential candidate? What's your take?
Definitely. He's, you know, when your father is president, you at some point you become delusional that maybe at one point in time you're going to replace him. And definitely there have been some opportunities. I've seen T-shirts, Muhoozi project. I think they've given him wings to think that he's big enough to take on a country like Uganda. Or his military position makes him assume, because coming from a military background where they think they can just sweep power and take it over just like his father did. Maybe that's why he has the audacity to say that he has supporters. But his statement where he's saying he's advising the youth known to take on war over peace.
Yeah, because that's what his father, his uncles and aunties fought.
I think that's hypocritical.
So
I think that's hypocritical coming from Muhoozi, especially where his father destabilized the peaceful country. Uganda was not at war when Museveni went to the bush. Uganda was peaceful, but there were issues that the country had, of which they could have been solved not with the war. How many Ugandans lost their lives in the war? So many Ugandans in Lubuurwa, in Masaka, in different parts of the country. People lost their lives. So it is hypocritical, knowing him very well, that his father waged a war on Obote when there was no need for a war. His issue was they had rigged an election. Dr. Besigye, there are a number of times Museveni has rigged the elections, and there are a number of times Dr. Besigye has won. Twice Dr. Besigye has won the presidential vote, but he has not gone to the bush. He could have opted for that.
Let me cut you short. 4 times he has complained that his votes were rigged. 2 times you say that he won elections.
Yes.
So let's go on.
Yeah, but Dr. Besigye, if he wanted to behave like Museveni, he would have opted to go to the bush and fight. But he didn't do that. He wanted to use all the constitutional, means and laws and exploit everything possible, to address this issue minus shedding blood and causing so many Ugandans lose their lives. So if Museveni did not even take he did not take a judicial address of what had happened, because his issue was that the election was stolen, then Muhoozi does not have any moral authority to start telling Ugandans to choose over peace and war. But at the same time, when you look at the current situation of how things are happening, with Ugandans being brutalized, Ugandans being killed day and night, you've seen people being knocked down, you've seen people being incarcerated for over things they've not done. We see what is happening in Uganda right now. And over there, as the period Museveni has been in power, of how so many people have lost their lives. I think basically they are at war with Ugandans. I do not know, because if Museveni, if peace was really on the minds of Museveni and Muhoozi, there is no reason why they are stopping people from contesting against President Museveni. They do not love peace. Because if it was a peaceful, because every time, and if you look at what is happening right now with Honorable Chagulanyi, he's trying all the level best to use all the peaceful means of seeing that we get change in Uganda. He has gone through court, even when court does not work. He went to KCCA, he went to Electoral Commission a number of times, we saw, and it is tossing him between police and Electoral Commission. He's doing every simple thing a peaceful person would do, not to cause harm to Ugandans. But if we look at who knocked down Rita, it wasn't Bobby Wine, it wasn't any other, it was the police. Who shot down Cheyune? It was the police. So it is very clear that Museveni and his government have waged war on Ugandans, even when they've chosen to be peaceful. Just imagine if the people who were in the day when Cheyune was shot, there were definitely a number of people. What if they had ganged up and killed the police officer, all the police officers who are in that area, you know, after killing one of them? So I think he's being hypocritical, or he has, I'm told he wasn't a very bright student. He studied with someone I know. So maybe he's confusing those statements, because it's easy to write things you do not understand and you can't explain. Because if you're telling the youth to choose war, to choose peace over war, when you're at war with the same people who are very peaceful, because if only they give a chance. I've not seen any moment or any gathering Bobby Wine has been on where the young people, the youth are charged. No, right. It doesn't happen. Every time people are trying to gather and be together, it is the police, the army, SFC that comes in and brutalizes these people.
All right, sorry, I want to bring in Eddie. Eddie, two things that I have to understand here. First of all, General Muhoozi did not criticize anything, but he said, we need to talk. Oh, he said people asking him to talk to him and to talk to Bobby Wine, and he said he's okay to talk with him because they've been friends and they're still friends. Now, let me read for you, before you come in, how Bobby Wine responded. I am open to transparent talks with anyone, but before that, you and your father should stop actions that have left many orphans, widows, and torture victims. Respect human rights, rule of law. Only a free man can negotiate. Remove the boot off my neck and I will have a voice to speak with you. Now, first of all, the first question I'd ask you is Bobby Wine saying that Muhoozi as an individual is responsible for the problems that are going on in the country, the killings and all that? Is he confirming that, or is he just attacking him?
No. Here's the thing. Muhoozi is his father's son. The father's been in power for 35 years. Muhoozi is the presidential advisor on security. So Muhoozi, now...
And the SFC is led by Muhoozi.
Muhoozi recruited the entire SFC. When he started his career in the army, he started as an LDU at Kasenyi. And people complained the way he was transcripted into the army. Then he ends up being promoted on steroid. Now, let me go back. This young man, Muhoozi, when he was in Sweden eating hamburgers and sausages, my generation were dying and being recruited by his father in Lubuurwa. That's where I'm born. They were recruiting Kadogos, his father. Now, let me go to that statement where Muhoozi said that the youth should choose war. Should choose peace instead of war.
Right.
Muhoozi is trying to say that when you oppose your father, it's war. Actually, he's delusional. He has to go to Tabika Hospital and be checked out, because no youth in Uganda today are waging war against NRM. The NRA has been fighting. There have been a common denominator everywhere. There has been violence since 1981, be it in Uganda, be it in Rwanda, be it in Congo, the northern part of Uganda, in the eastern part of Uganda, in Kasese. Muhoozi's father and his army have been responsible for the death of Ugandans, for the death of people in the Great Lake region. So Muhoozi and his father have no moral authority whatsoever to preach peace to us or to any other people in Uganda. Right now, Bobby Wine's driver was killed by SFC soldiers in Arua. Bobby Wine did not go to the bush to fight them. We've seen our kids being killed, as my sister said, by the police and the army. So who is fighting who? So when Muhoozi stands up today and tells people, Bobby Wine, I mean,
Yeah, because they're friends. They
were.
Let me-
The statement
let me
was
put it this
they
way.
were. They're
They
no
were.
longer
Let me
friends.
put it this way, my
They
brother.
were friends.
Today, Bobby Wine is on a different trajectory than Mohozi. Mohozi is in the status quo. It works for him. It doesn't work for the people like Bobby Wine and me and other Ugandans. Now, the problem of Uganda is not Bobby Wine. Therefore, talking to Bobby Wine is not a solution today.
Yeah.
Mohozi should instead talk to his father and find a way to peacefully allow transition in Uganda. So talking to Bobby Wine, that's nonsensical. Sorry to use that kind of language today. Because what they are trying to do, in one of the vernaculars I come from, they call it akamanyiro. Because today, Ugandans are yearning for change, peaceful change from Museveni and his cronies, so that we don't shed blood again. It's the reason People Power and the opposition and the FDC are using peaceful means to push for change.
All right, so Mohozi is just a president. I'm going to leave it open, then I'll come in.
You know when I clip in, let me just throw in something from what Dumba said. First of all, you should understand Mohozi looks at himself. Mohozi knows very well he cannot even win an election against Bobby Wine. Mohozi looks at himself as someone, either he's going to do a coup d'etat on his father, or he's going to be, sometimes they look at Uganda as a monarchy, where it is going to be transferred to him.
Previously, used to say, members in the opposition used to say Mohozi doesn't have supporters, and he clearly
He
came out
doesn't
and
have
said
supporters.
He has supporters.
He doesn't. If Mohozi has supporters, 2021, let Museveni, let Bobby Wine run against Mohozi. Let Museveni, let his son run against Bobby Wine, if Mohozi has supporters.
I want to talk later about that communique that was issued out. I hope he was just talking like any other person, just trying to express his views, but not in real terms as requesting a talk with Bobby Wine. Now he's into it. The public has forced him to make sure that whatever he spoke the other time is now on a white paper. He should be able to talk to opposition or Bobby Wine right now, because in Bobby Wine's reply, it looked small, it looked brief, but was very broad. He explained almost 3 or 4 things. Why are you putting your boots on me? Tell your father to stop this and that. Thereafter, we are able to talk freely.
Well,
but
before you continue, well, somebody may say that maybe people have been arguing or telling Mohozi that maybe you have grudges with Bobby Wine, and he clearly came out to tell the public, no, I have no problem with him. He's my friend. We've talked before, and it's just justifying
that could be so. That could be so.
Not fight over and over.
I am not denying it. That could be so, and I would be glad if those were presented before his desk, so that he could be able to talk to Bobby Wine and the opposition at large. Going forward, I wanted to say that Mohozi represents their allegiance, to the people of Uganda. He does not have supporters. He's not a councillor. He has not vied for that position to be elected into that. He's not an MP. So there is no way he can tell us that he has supporters. He doesn't have supporters. He's just a civil servant like any other person. What I can only say that him and his father, because he served in this military and is still the advisor, presidential special advisor to something on security, these are the people who are maiming Ugandans. They are the ones who are causing harm to the people of Uganda. We are having orphans day by day because of these people. So for him to come out and say that Bobby Wine should choose, or the youth should choose peace over war, is a wrong statement. They are the ones that are putting war onto these young people. That is why people are dying day and night. So I am asking them politely that let them be secure for themselves for the future, because they are not going to stay in power forever. Let them forgive us. Let them stop these issues of fighting us, of killing the young people.
Richard, I'll bring you in. But before you come in, first of all, I'm going to ask you some question. Ask Jumba. Mohozi was very polite and simple when he was sending out the message that he would like to talk to the friend, a colleague they've been with for some time. And but when his response is kind of like an attack to him, that you and your father should work on ensuring that we stop actions of actions that have left many orphans in the country. Isn't that an attack of someone who just said, oh, yeah, I would like to talk to him, and you respond by, you and your father should stop this? Isn't that an attack to General Muhoozi? Let
me explain. I'm going to go slowly because I have emotional issues. Let me tell you, last week we discussed some things here, and we said that the government of Uganda, Museveni and his children and his son are in a fix because of all, even the party, of all the crimes they have done to the Ugandans. They have looted the country, they have divided their country to themselves, and they have left no room for the Ugandans to breathe and to eat something.
True.
This is a conflict that we are trying to solve. Now, we propose that now is the time to talk. Now, where they saw the opportunity that now we can talk, what Muhoozi is trying to do is what they call a preemptive in war. Preemptive, because when I preempted this man and tell him now, I'm ready to talk to you, and he thinks that Honorable Chagwen is so cheap and to this level that you can just call him and take him to Munyonyo and sit down like the way he has been doing this. His father has been doing this. DP people coming at 8 o'clock in a meeting, their inter-party organization, I don't know how they call them. Honorable Chagwen is not that cheap, and he's a very smart guy. He represents all the people of Uganda. What we have to do, what they were trying to do, let's call him and preempt on our terms of where we are going to give him power. Like exactly what this man said last time, the one who has one eye, Tumwine. Come on our side, we show you this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, don't touch. You go to the seat and eat whatever you can. Honorable Chagwen is a true freedom fighter. Now let's talk about the key issues here. Before they talk, Honorable Chagwen, we must tell him and ask him politely. Ugandan conflict to be solved is no longer a Ugandan conflict, it's an international conflict. If we are supposed to defeat Museveni, Museveni is very clever, and his son, they're all thieves. They have never honored an agreement. I'm going to begin with President Lule in Nairobi. The agreement was never honored. Binaisa, this Kiseka, after the death of Lule, the agreement was never honored. The Nairobi Peace Conference, the agreement was never honored. The only agreement Museveni has ever honored is this man of northern Uganda, this
Obote.
No, the one of Moses Ali. Is it Moses Ali? Oh. When the gun was on his side. You have to put him on pressure. That's where he will agree for anything that you have agreed on. Now we are asking Honorable Chagwen politely, let's go in the international community. What we want for him, Honorable Chagwen, is to write down the following things, what they call the Declaration of Principles, like Israel. The first thing, the election, the issue of an election in Uganda, it must not be conducted by the current regime, even if they make reforms. It must be like Ivory Coast. Even last week we said it must be like Ivory Coast, where the United Nations comes in with its electoral commission and arranges and supervises the election in Uganda. That's number one, on the Declaration of Principles. The second thing, there has to be 2 elections. The one for presidential and parliamentary election. The second one has to be the referendum to break up the constitution that Museveni made and tied up the country. Because Honorable Chagwen is not going to come and rule over the same constitution that has put Uganda under the same circumstances for 34 or 35 years.
Bottom line.
Can I say something?
What are the chances?
I was giving my statements here because now I'm making a statement. A peacekeeping force in the country. Because all the military belongs to one man, Museveni and his son. We need a peacekeeping force, not African Union. No, we want the United Nations peacekeeping force in the country.
Scholars will say that you're now providing room for Western.
No. This should be in the Declaration of Principles.
I want to go into
let me just chip in and add in a little, something little. From the statement of Muhoozi, they seem, and this has been also, if you've been following President Museveni, he almost sounds the same like his son. For them to always think, I remember when Dr. Besigye was contesting against Museveni, Museveni made it look like Besigye was the problem, and forgetting that the problem, Besigye was just representing Ugandans. Right now, for Muhoozi to want to meet to meet Bobi Wine, they need to find a very huge place that can seat 45 million people, because Bobi Wine is just a representation of so many Ugandans who are desperate for change. For you to start making such statements, you're trying to make it look like if Bobi Wine can sit with you, then the rest of Ugandans are okay. It is completely wrong, because Bobi Wine is just one person. That is one vote. And Bobi Wine, maybe he's leading the People Power Revolution, but at the same time, he knows Bobi Wine wouldn't have had this zeal and energy to move forward and move on if he did not know that there are so many desperate Ugandans who really want change. So Muhoozi, if you want this meeting, they should find a huge place that is going to seat every Ugandan that is so desperate for change, because he needs to hear. He doesn't need to hear for only Chagulanyi. He's not the only oppressed.
All right.
There are so many that are oppressed.
Let me finish up with
All right, so I'm going to give you a chance to air out.
Another thing, the contest issue here, the land that they have grabbed has to be on the declaration of principles. We have to recover all the land they have stolen. The oil belongs to Museveni and his family. We have to recover all this. And the people that made up Uganda, there are people that made up Uganda, the political parties, the religious leaders, the cultural leaders, have to come on table, and we have to get a neutral country like Norway, and there has to be a guarantor. The United Nations must be involved.
There's a reason why.
Wait. There has to be a guarantor, and it has to be the U.S. Secretary of State as the guarantor for Museveni, Honorable Chagulanyi, to sit down in a neutral country. Then we can talk.
All right. So, Ed.
The way I'm looking at this stuff is a little different. My brother is proposing things that we can work towards, or we can work for. But before we get to that, before we cross that bridge, we still have a problem, which is Museveni and his regime right now. And the way I'm looking at this stuff is, we want to go into an election that can help us propel change or push these people out of power through an election. Now, you may ask me, is the election going to be legit? Is it going to be arranged properly? Yes, we know that the problems of elections in Africa. But this is what I'm saying as I conclude. Ugandans have reached what we call a critical mass, whereby we can mobilize, organize, and encourage Ugandans en masse to push the regime out of power through an election. And if they tamper with this election, then the consequences that will come out of this will be upon them. So that's what I'm saying. There is enough Ugandans today who can go to vote and create a critical mass and tilt the balance and remove power and remove Museveni from power without shedding blood. Now, when Muhoozi makes a statement like that,
to talk to a friend, a colleague they've been with for some time, and somebody reacts saying, you need to talk to your dad.
This is where I'm coming. Bobi Wine is not the problem. Talking to Bobi Wine cannot solve the issues of Uganda, because the issues of Uganda are bigger than Bobi Wine and Muhoozi.
Exactly.
So he must engage the entire country. Now, the homework that I give Muhoozi is to go to his father and tell them, Daddy, we've been in this chair for 35 years. It is time we arrange a smooth transition without taking Uganda back into war. So that's the only homework I can give Muhoozi.
Sure. So guys, I want to take you off from that debate, but let's look at now the key issue of the politics in the country, where we have close to 22 presidential aspirants. Now, these are very strong men and women, but of course, majority of them are men. We know Bobi Wine has already declared. We know Elton John Mabidi has already declared. We know President Museveni and the NRM, they have somehow already declared. We know almost everyone has already declared to stand. 22 candidates. They are fighting for one seat. We know that at one point they will zero down to around like 7 or 10 or 15, which is very good. But let's look at the last presidential aspirant, General Henry Tumukunde. That's where our debate is going to stand to be. First of all, one, he said he's willing to educate, to help Bobi Wine know all the ins and outs of becoming a president. That's number one.
He has never been president, so he should not be the one to help him with that.
Number two, he's going to stand. And he knows he has been working for the government for It's quite some time. He was arrested. He's been a victim of this government before. So, Dennis, I want to bring you in.
Yeah.
What does it mean for General Henry Tumukunde to come at such a time where we've been, maybe many Ugandans have been thinking, oh, it's going to be a race between Kyagulanyi Ssentamu and Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Now we have a new kid on the block. What does it mean?
General Tumukunde is a Ugandan like any other person, and he can vie for any position in this country. But he first tried to express his interest for Lord Mayorship of Kampala.
We actually made the first announcement here.
Yes, so has he now found that the Lord Mayorship position is much tougher than the presidency one? So he's going for the presidential position? So I see some of the things as a joke. If it is not a play movie infested by the NRM, then it should be something different. When Amama Mbabazi came into play, by the way, Amama Mbabazi came like real opposition, and he confused the TDA totally, where the opposition members got confused. People went left, right, and center, not until it came to the last moment, and Amama Mbabazi was nowhere.
Was defeated.
Leave alone being defeated, but it made us in the opposition get to know the reality on ground, that we do not just accept anyone as an opposition into your camp, because some of them come to disorganize you so that you lose your grip, then later on they go back to government. Now, you can see how he's in bed with the government. I do not disagree. In politics, you can go back to wherever you came from, or to the left, or to the right. That's okay. But that would only be good if it is what the country practices. This country practices something different. If you are an NRM, you are an NRM. If you try to close your position, we fear you first. You have to be in the periphery before we accept you fully. So Tumukunde coming into this thing is not new. You said there are about 20 others are jokers like the Mabirizi and the rest. They want to show their faces.
The Ugandans who have the right to stand as president.
I already said they have the right, like Tumukunde has the right. But let me take you back. Tumukunde was one of the guys who fought Amama Mbabazi so hard. At one point even landed his chopper where Amama Mbabazi was having campaign. So meaning he works totally for the dictator, the president of the country, Museveni. Two, these are the people who are grabbing land left, right, and center. And you cannot come and try to express your interest, showing your good side of your deeds on TV, yet you have the most worst side hidden behind you. First go clear the other problems, then come to the people and say, now I have cleared these problems, I'm ready to lead you. Then secondly, I think we should look at what is he focusing for in this presidential bid. Is he trying to look for his benefit alone or for the country? The way I see this, Tumukunde is fighting for the side of Janet Museveni, because these people have been having insider problems between the camp of Janet and the camp of Museveni. So he's trying to show the president that I am ready to stand for this camp.
But
so
he has talked about the same position before in the early 2000s. So does that he's now coming officially to declare?
You see, in the army, if you are unfortunate and some things go wrong, let's say you do a little bit of corruption within your office, of course you will be held by the authorities, not the president. Not until the president comes later and pardons you, but the authorities will first try to handle you that why have you done this wrong. Those are the reasons why he went to prison. It wasn't President Museveni that took him to prison, but it was the authorities within the UPDF rank.
All right.
So some of the things are the things that probably make him feel alienated and is trying to make something or contest so that Museveni is annoyed. By the way, if you contest in Uganda as a president, you are knowing the person of President Museveni, that he believes is his position and no one should contest it. Now you can see how the Ofonopondos are talking. Ofonopondo said he's going to bring all the dirty games Tumukunde has been playing, all the malice Tumukunde has been doing. So you know what this is. It's either a play game against the opposition or he's trying his luck. Wait after 2 or 3 months.
Sure.
He will be normal.
Sarah, before you step in, I would like to phrase a question to you. First of all, General Tumukunde has been a very powerful guy within the politics of the country. Now, he comes in to say, I am willing to educate your candidate. But before you talk about that, when he was doing his interview recently, he mentioned something that was very interesting. One, he knows where his camp that are willing to vote for him are. One, he mentioned about the Muslim community and the people of Karamoja. Where do you see people power? Because if the Muslim community is already taken by General Henry Tumukunde, then that means from people power's perspective, first of all, remember 1 million of your voters, potential voters, are not going to vote. Number two, he knows the Muslims are going to vote for him. Where you left as people power?
Which Muslims is he talking about? Because the last I've heard, there was a sheikh that was gunned down. Do you know how many sheikhs that have been gunned down in Uganda?
27 actually.
27 sheikhs have been gunned down in Uganda. And what has Tumukunde done? I've not seen Tumukunde address any Muslim community about the killing of the sheikhs. Do you know how many sheikhs are in Luzira? What has Tumukunde done? So let him not deceive himself. By the way, in this contention of presidency, for me, I see Tumukunde as a passers-by. He has been paid by President Museveni, and you see what is good. The toughest period of time he's going to have is now, because Ugandans are so awake. Ugandans do not have time for nonsense. He has come on with this nonsense, and people don't have time for that. I'm really so disappointed. I was even not disappointed. I was annoyed when he was talking about educating Bobi Wine. A person of Bobi Wine's stature and caliber has a lot of integrity, of which Tumukunde does not have. In fact, if there was anyone to school anyone, it is Bobi Wine that is supposed to sit down his father Tumukunde to educate him about having integrity, to educate him about honesty, to educate him about so many things. So many people have lost their lands in the hands of Tumukunde. And you want to lead the country, you've been stealing from Ugandans. He doesn't have any moral authority to educate anyone, because himself, even in the capacity where he led the army, he stole from the army. He stole from the soldiers. He created ghost soldiers. So he has no capacity, even in a small entity like the army. He failed it. What is he going to do to Uganda? He's going to fail Uganda. He created ghost soldiers. And again, when I hear people say he was taken to prison, where was he? Was Tumukunde in Luzira? Tumukunde was held in Kololo with VIP treatment. If someone is held in Kololo, he sleeps in SC, he has a fridge in his house, he sleeps in a bed, that's not prison. Because if Museveni wanted to punish Tumukunde, it would have been in Luzira. He would have been in Luzira. Tumukunde has never stepped in Luzira. If I'm lying, let
me bring in this. I wanted to ask the same question to these other guys, but let me bring it on your side. NRM members are already scared of Tumukunde. Are you opposition also scared
we are
of
not.
Tumukunde?
We are not. NRM are scared of Tumukunde because, you see, for them, everything revolves around, and I don't even think they're scared of him, because for them, they are military, everything is military. For Ugandans, first of all, we've been disappointed by the military rule. There is nothing new Tumukunde is going to bring to the table. In fact, of all the people, if Tumukunde wants to get into this race, he's going to get the worst votes. He's not going, because if you say he has votes with the Muslims have been killed left and right, he has not done anything. If he says he has votes with Karamoja, it's one of the poorest regions of Uganda. So what has Tumukunde, just tell me, what is his political muscle? What is Tumukunde going to tell Ugandans that he has done to improve their lives? When he was in the army, he stole money from the army. He stole money from these poor army officers who don't earn even more than $200. He stole money from them. So his credibility, there is nothing. Apart from, I've heard him say people power should join him. We do not want Tumukunde. By the Tumukunde, we don't want him in people power. We would have said Tumukunde join people power. We do not want him. Because Tumukunde joining people power, it is getting a rotten tomato and put it among the good tomatoes. We do not need him, because he's one of the most violent people. In people power, we are preaching non-violence, and then you bring in the likes of Tumukunde who are violent. He just wants people who are non-violent, peaceful people to be killed. We do not need him. Tumukunde, it's about time he retires and rests. We don't need him in people power. He better stays in movement or find something better to do. We're not going to, because I said, I heard him say people power should join him. We don't need him. He's completely because when you want people to join you, you look at what is their political muscle. What are they adding to the table? Tumukunde has nothing to add to the table, because we would have said he has a backing of the army, but he stole from the army. Those guys don't like him. He stole from them. When he says he has the backing of Muslims, Muslims are being killed left and right. Where is Tumukunde? When he says he has backing of people in Karamoja, it's one of the most poorest regions. People still walk naked in Karamoja.
That's where they are stealing gold.
So he has no political muscle. He has no political muscle, and we don't need him in people power.
Richard,
let him stay where he is.
Richard, the first question is, which gives Tumukunde credibility, is most of you in opposition over the years, especially you who are partly part of FDC and all that stuff, you said Tumukunde was against your candidate. He fought against a guy who was against your candidate, General Karikahura. He put him down until they were both removed out of their offices. And police somehow today is a little bit lenient to FDC candidate and other opposition leaders. So, isn't he the right person to come and put security in order in the country? Now that we've been complaining, oh, people are being killed every now and then. He has come out, he fought against Kaihura you never liked. Every time you're complaining about him, a new guy is here, and one, you're scared that he's going to take the seat or even divide your votes.
Okay, let me be fair from you, David. Let's focus on things that are going to save us as people power to get into office. Let me tell viewers that are listening to us tonight and tell them that we must be serious of what is going to happen. These people, the reason why Tumukunde is entering this presidential race, everyone knows it, is to save his skin, the first family, and whatever they have looted. Because the question is, where do we go from here? Because they are not so sure, because the time is running out. That's why they are bringing him. If Bobby Wine takes over office now, where do we go as first family with all the money that we have looted, with everything that we have taken? They don't want to go into exile. So they bring in Tumukunde to be an intimidator between the two. Because what Tumukunde is going to fight for and the army, because I heard his speech very well on the television, he was calling on the army, because the army is divided into two. There's what they call the SFC, and the old army, the NRA. The president should have gone into the old NRA if Honorable Chagwan had not come. But now no one knows where they are going to be after they come to office. So now what are you telling me? We, the people that are in the international community, in the diaspora, must wake up now and look for international support, because what is going to happen in Uganda, if you're not very careful, they are fighting for a draw. They are fighting for a draw. So that when negotiations comes, they have the upper hand in negotiations. As many people as possible can enter the presidential race. But I'm going to give you an example of what happened in South Africa. They said that in the transitional government, every person that gets 5% and above will go into the transitional government. Let Tumukunde come in an open election. If he doesn't get 5%, he will not go into the next government, because that's their trick. But that's he wants to go into the government to save all the land he has stolen, all the wealth that they have taken from the people of Uganda.
All right, so Richard, Jumba, quick question. Number one, I have two questions for you. Sure. But number one is he trying to protect himself now that the government is taking away all his guards? Of course, they've already taken away the guards that were protecting his premises and everything. Is he using this as an alternative to keep himself in the public so that he's not killed?
Before Jumba answers this, let me just throw in. In a country that is peaceful as Uganda, because that's what they claim, why is he having guards, for starters?
He's a general.
For what? No, he's a general, yes. But why is he having security in a country that is peaceful?
All right, Jumba, your take.
Okay, this is my take on Tumukunde. First of all, Tumukunde right now is trying to to make himself relevant, because he's really irrelevant right now.
True.
The NRA, UPDF, and the government have thrown him under the bus. Now he claims that he wants to school Bobby Wine. First of all, let's look at Tumukunde.
He mentioned the key areas.
He mentioned so many.
Those are security and all the things. And
my brother Senyon said sometimes even a dead clock can be correct twice a day. So Tumukunde mentioning those things, even the devil can mention them. Because when you read the Bible, the devil promised so many good things to Jesus. But before going there, Tumukunde, one, he has no constituency. Be it in the army, like my sister said. He's still in the army.
He has the Muslim community, as according to his research, he has the people of Karamoja, according to his research. So he's already best, and he knows that once he enters into these elections, he has the potential of winning these votes. Now, of course, you guys have already reduced your votes.
My brother, Karamoja today, its best and brightest, the kids are on the streets of Kampala begging. And whatever is remaining in Karamoja is being swindled away. So what are they doing for Karamoja?
And Karamoja is the place
what
where
can they show for Karamoja if really he has a constituency in Karamoja? Number two, Tumukunde, as a former security minister, as a former spy, as a former officer of the high command, when you look at the nature of crimes that have happened in Uganda, and up to now, high-profile crimes have never been solved. Chirumira is dead. All these other guys were gunned down, the Muslims, Abiriga, and so on. We don't have any statement whatsoever, any investigations, credible investigations that has been done by these people. So even the claim of security,
The very reason.
there is none.
The very reason why he needs to stand as a president to bring out all this evidence.
He
that
failed. He
you people
failed.
are-
If you
Okay.
cannot-
Let me come to this, my brother.
Right.
To Mukunde to think that the only way to contribute towards Uganda is by standing as a president, that's sorry, that's not
I
right.
don't want to use it, BS,
Yeah,
total BS.
that's total
So-
BS. If he wants to contribute to Uganda, the first thing he has to do is to apologize to the country. He has to come clean.
And bring back our land.
And he has to come clean. Look at his records in Kayunga area with the land and his neighbors. Look at the records in the past where he had to beat some people whose cattle happened to cross path with his cattle. These guys were beaten. Look at Tumukunde when his son stood for election. He was even he was injured. This is a violent man. So this violent man now wants us to tell us and to preach to us that he wants a better Uganda. Really, after 35 years and 40 years with Museveni, now he's telling us that Museveni is not a good man. That's hypocrisy, one-on-one. Mukunde has to go back, apologize to Ugandans, and disappear away in oblivion. We don't want to see him again.
So if
Uganda deserves better
you
for these
see-
guys to be in history.
You see the funny thing, David? One of the things I would have loved to hear from Tumukunde, him saying he has support in the West. He has no support. He cannot even affirm that he has support in the area where he was born or where he comes from. So for you to go as far as Karamoja and for you to again find the Muslims that have been brutalized
And you're not a
been
Muslim
killed, and you're not even a Muslim, to say they have your support and you move away because Chagulanyi will tell you
He has computer votes.
No,
He has computer votes. You vote here,
No,
and
let me-
then
let-
they
let
have
me
the
add in-
computer votes.
Let me say this.
Right.
Chagulanyi will say, I have support of Chandondo East. That's his base, because I won by over 80%. He will say that. What is the stand? What is the base of Tumukunde, who has never contested in any
he did
elective position?
consultations in the city, in Kampala area, and he realized that the Muslim community supports him so much because he fought for their freedom, he fought for their rights. And
right now, the most hurting things to the Muslims, so many of their leaders have been killed. And him being the minister, he was once in charge of security. He has not, in fact, he should apologize. If he said that, he needs to sit down and apologize to Muslims for mocking them. Their leaders have been gunned down. Some of them are still in Luzira. And for a person to say he has the Muslim support, yet he has done nothing to some of their leaders that have been gunned down, then he's a joker. And let him first go and get support in the area where he was born. Let him go to Western Uganda. If he has enough support from there, then he can jump on and go to Karamoja and go into the... And I've been reading a comment here where someone said, oh, we may need him in people power. We do not need people who are already being dented. People power is a non-violent group. You know how many people, we've seen scandals of him chasing people off land. We don't believe that in people power. We believe people should own land, people should have their land. We've had him chasing people off land. We've had him brutalizing people. We've had him stealing money from soldiers. We don't believe, for the principles of people power, we do not want him in people power because he has no in addition. He's going to come with all his, he's already rotten. And how do you start telling people you're not violent when you're welcoming people who have blood stains on them all over them and joining part of you? He needs to disappear in oblivion. Let him apologize. Basically, you should use this time to apologize and say, Ugandans, I'm really sorry for all the wrongs I've done. I'm sorry for the money I stole from the soldiers. I am sorry for the people I have hurt and chased them off their land. I am really sorry, and let him disappear.
But
we will forgive him.
All right, so let me bring this open now. We have 22, just as I said earlier, 22 presidential aspirants. Now, 22, so far at least those we know, are all almost against one candidate, Joel Museveni, who is in office right now. Now, the big question is, Are these going to divide the votes of the opposition? Which means that if probably 22 stand, the potential voters of People Power may be extremely divided. Where do you see Honorable Robert Chagwenya? I want to start with the Dennis.
I still, I see these aspirants as people who are trying.
You're calling them jokers?
You put it right. They're just trying to joke around or try to show their face that they should also be seen. But leaving that aside, dividing voters being divided is not a problem to me. My challenge is if the opposition are not united. I call for this unity all the time when I'm on TV like this. I need the country to understand that unity is very strong on the side of the opposition. Without it, there is no way we are going to beat Museveni. I know FDC, DP, and now People Power are stronger united if they do that.
But actually, before you finish up, they are not showing us any signs of uniting. We're just probably 8 to 10 months away to elections, and they're just still procrastinating that they're going to sit down and bring together all efforts to just get one candidate. Now, 22 presidential aspirants, how are they going to bring all these 22 to convince Ugandans, potential voters, at a critical moment like this, to stand and get one candidate?
What I know is I've been in politics for some time now. Making a coalition is not done like a year early. Because once you do it earlier than expected, your team is going to be disgruntled and they will divide them within 5 months after you have arranged. So I believe that if we are left with about 4 months, that is when the coalition can be made and very strong. And it will take time for the government to come and infiltrate you because the months are very few to election. So I still have hopes that my leader in the FDC, Patrick Amuriato Boy, and his team are going to work on this maybe 4 months to election. Because right now, I know it's not being done, but I also guess the People Power team headed by Robert Chagulanyi are looking at this as a possible opportunity to win the position of the presidency. Going forward, I urge everyone who is on the side of the opposition that let's try to work out ourselves. Let's try to unite. Even if you are with the DP who is on Mao's camp, as long as you know he's going to vote for the opposition, try to bring those people together. The Mao's issues will be sorted later, but the people should be united. Once we are united, the leaders also will be united. Once we talk as one front, the leaders will be united. When these guys were being gunned, okay, when the People Power youth were being gunned down, I really felt so bad. But if we were united as a team, because FDs, we also have a lot of people out there. But sometimes we fear to just go and fall in something like a fly. They will ask you, where are you coming from? But if we're united, we would team up, and the thing people are saying, well, walk and we disorganize the government. It can be done even just within 2 days. Sure. But we need that unity.
Sarah?
I don't want even to pay more attention. Literally, I saw that list and I've not even looked at it. The only names, when I see such lists of coming out, the only name I was only interested in is, I know this Bobby Wine is going to stand, Museveni is going to stand. That's where my focus and energy is. The rest are irrelevant. I know some, by the time we get to maybe before the election, you're going to find it's going to be half of it, or maybe 7 of them will end up on the ballot. But those are, maybe their families will vote for them, whatever. But they're not, because we are in a space and time where Ugandans know exactly what they want. If you look at Uganda's politics from 2016 and before, Ugandans did not, people, at that time people thought, oh, maybe Besigye was fighting for himself alone. But now we are in a space where Ugandans are now so much aware that, if you do not be part of this, it is affecting you. You're not doing this for Bobby Wine. You're not helping Bobby Wine. In fact, he's helping you. Him coming up and making himself the face of the revolution and making himself that he loses so much. He has lost his businesses, he has lost he's doing you a favor. I was telling someone the other day, Bobby Wine is doing Ugandans a favor. They need him more than he needs them. Because not so many people are strong enough, have the energy, the zeal to fight a dictator And because, first of all, they'll cut off your arms and legs. You're going to operate in an environment where you're poor, where they'll take out everything, your businesses. You've seen what they've done to him left and right. He's a musician. He can no longer perform. So he needs Ugandans, because and you've seen Bobby Wine coming out and not having any military background, not being part of this group of people who every time they speak of we are military, we fought and all that. It has helped Ugandans so much, and you've seen the zeal and energy so many you have picked up, because they are seeing someone of their own. So we are at a time where people should understand, or people know, that we need Bobby Wine more than he needs us. Because at this point, if we want change, yes, we need someone to stand on the front, but at the same time, we need to give him all the support he needs. So the rest, I'm not going to pay so much attention to them, because they're not the problem of Uganda. Our biggest problem of Uganda is President Museveni. And he's the person we need to unseat. I know some of them are looking for the 5 minutes of fame, and in between the rest, they will come out, they will fall off. You know, some of them, I can just wake up tomorrow and you see my name on that list. If I wake up, because I have all the qualifications. And of
course, because we don't even see any lady there, so you would be
yes,
there's a lady already there.
I have all the qualifications. I have all the qualifications that requires me to stand for presidency. So I could have my name in there, and it doesn't mean anything. So I don't want us even to pay more attention to the 24, because those are not our problems. Our problem right now, our biggest focus is Museveni, and our biggest concentration right now as Ugandans is to give as much support to Bobby Wine as we can, because he needs us. He needs us more than we need him.
All right, sure. So, Richard, your final take on the issue of...
For me, what I'm saying is this. This is now us that are in the diaspora. Between now, up to the election day, if it's there, the conflict in Uganda is going to escalate. Like it or not, because we can see what is happening on the ground. And the international community...
But they have done, before you bring the international, they've done a great job by stopping all your consultations that People Power had programmed. Right now, we don't hear no more about People Power consultations in the media or anywhere. So,
yeah, but
are they successful?
But the small consultation that has been done in diaspora, we need, as we people in the diaspora, even Honorable Chagwan, to come up and lay big numbers. We need to come and start debating this policy, whatever is there on the table. We have to debate on behalf, because we are Ugandan, we have to debate on behalf of the people of Uganda that are in prison in Uganda, so that the policies that we make will be pushed to them after we have voted for them here. That's the way forward. And we have to rally the international community. This war, I've been saying all along, the votes are going to be won in Uganda. But the presidency is going to be got from the international community. The international community are going to help us, because if Museveni refuses, we shall apply sanctions. We shall make sure that no oil drop leaves the country to go out. We shall cripple their finances. We shall make sure that no investor goes, and every investor that is there leaves the country. So all these things, we need the international community to help us. Sure. We in the diaspora have to come and do more.
All right. Ed, your final take. You see the politics of the country, and almost every other discussion here, we are seeing that every day that passes, the opposition is continuing to divide itself. People Power's numbers are reducing, and NRM is celebrating, because now you're fighting against each other. But before you guys finish up, let me finish up with the issue of General Sejusa, when he said that they are also scared of their lives. They cannot drink water when they go to high command meetings. You know, Jumba, I wanted to finish up with that. I'll bring in Sarah, and you guys will give your final take, and I'll finish up the show. So, what does it mean? First of all, the generals are scared of their lives. What does it mean to the rest of Ugandans?
Of course, if they are scared of their lives, it's because they created the environment which is making them scared of their lives. Because people never used to live like that. Even I'm old enough to remember when Amin was driving. Sometimes Amin would drive in a Jeep. I was in primary school, very like primary 1, primary 2. Amin would drive in a Jeep by himself. So presidents would go somewhere and they would eat. They would eat with the general public. But now they cannot, because they created this environment. We've seen people that have died mysteriously. When you look at Mayombo, he died mysteriously. When you look at Nyakarima, he dies on a plane mysteriously. When you look at people that have died mysteriously, others have been shot. Then you ask yourself, who is safe? They have created a monster. Now the monster is turning against them. Now, when I leave that apart, let me put that aside. when I look at the issue of the opposition, people are saying that the opposition is divided, but you have to look at it into pieces. One, the Ugandans are not divided about taking Museveni out of power. Now, the people you call their leaders are the people that are confused. And that's the reason I'm saying Ugandans should ignore these selfish leaders who are not coming together and look for the candidate that they really know would propel them and push them to victory. Right. Because when you look at people like Kamya, Betty Kamya, he was at one point a leader in the opposition. He crossed over, he went back to NRA. When you look at someone like Lubuurwa, you know him, Major. He crossed and went back.
Because NRM offers best results than what opposition
no,
can.
No, this is where I'm coming.
Right, guys,
This is where I'm coming. I'm concluding.
Right.
I know we're running out of time. What I'm trying to say is this. Ignore these selfish leaders. The people of Uganda in the opposition are united. These leaders, some of them are selfish. They are not going to stop change from happening.
All right, sure. So, Sarah, I want to finish up with you because you were the last person when I was starting the show to introduce yourself. But
that's
first question I want to ask you is, we are now seeing all the generals coming out against the regime. They're saying we're tired of this. We have seen most of these things. We've been part of them. And you, the public, are not welcoming them. So aren't you risking yourselves as the public if the generals are saying we want to take out the government? Instead of supporting them, you're standing against them. What if they go back?
They can as well go back. I think Ugandans have come to a place where their nose is bleeding. They've been pushed so much to the wall. Especially, we've seen most of these generals are flip-floppers. We've seen, it's not the first time Tumukunde has wanted to stand against President Museveni. This is not the first time. You've seen most of them, they are flip-floppers. Where they're here, the moment tomorrow they're given comfort, they go back. So, but the greatest insight I had from the statement of Sejusa, it is enough to tell you that we are in a most difficult place as a country. If the generals who sit on the high command do not even trust what is around them, yet they are the holders of the gun, then something. I think, one thing I learned is I think we are fearing these people. We are fearing the unknown, but there's nothing to get scared of.
All right, guys.
Because what I see, if the generals, one of the things he mentioned, that if they go for a meeting in the high command and you find water on the table, make sure you have water in your own jacket so that you represent on the table. He said when you find samosas on the table, make sure you came with your own samosas so that you replace what is on the table. So it is already rotten from the top that there is no trust from the high command. And I'm talking of the high command where the president sits. Anyone is not safe. Anyone who is not safe, you fear even shaking hands with someone because someone could be carrying poison in their hands. What does it tell you? That from the top, it is us at the bottom. Us at the bottom have been fearing the top so much, and maybe thinking because of they have the guns, then they own the whole, they are the Jesus, Omega, and Alpha. But if you hear such statements, don't take them lightly. They are trying to tell you, such statements are trying to tell you that the top we are fearing, they are more disgruntled, they are more untrustworthy. They don't even believe in themselves more than us. I think it's about time we believe more in that change is coming and we can do it, and we don't, whether the generals, because if one of the things we must understand, some of these generals, we've had them come out, but they do not have an army behind them. Because what have they done? The generals themselves, instead of the time they had in the army, instead of doing good, they stole from the same people they were leading. To an extent, if Tumukunde had the power, I'm telling you, if Tumukunde came out, and we know Tumukunde, if Uganda has 100,000 soldiers, and we know 50,000 soldiers are behind Tumukunde, we would have been saying, yes, we need Tumukunde. But Tumukunde, apart from his family and the wife, he has no, he has no even 10 army guys behind him, because he's been doing wrong in the army.
All right, sure.
So I think we need to be pay more attention to what they're saying, and know the people we are fearing fear us more. Bobby Wine always says that statement, that the people we are fearing fear us more than we know. But because they wear uniforms, we look at whatever they're wearing and carry the gun and think they're more powerful, and we should fear them. But they fear us more because they're living a life of fear and terror that they don't even trust their own environments themselves.
All right, sure. Guys, I want to thank you so much, and I want to thank all our viewers for the tremendous job that you do by being with us on the show and always liking and sharing and comments. We always receive them. We use them within the show. It's very hard at times for me to mention names because you're very many all over the world, and I appreciate you. But here is my closing take. And these are the things that we've been looking at over time. There are certain ways that we've been maybe discussing and sharing ideas or things that have not changed within our lives, and most importantly, the way we take our arguments. So we always break down and suggest that maybe at one point or one area or one suggestion that we see things, maybe a day will come when changes happen. But I want to give my closing take on the issue of General Tumukunde and the other generals who are coming out every single day to talk about the new ideas, the key things that happen in the country. Well, they also want to agree that politics is always just a change of things. It's just a change of ideas. It's just a change of, talking about the different notions and a different way of seeing things. Now, when the generals come out, we should respect them. We should agree that they're tired of the government. But time will tell if these generals are just lying to Ugandans. Time will tell. We have seen Tumukunde, we have seen the seducers. Then, rest in peace, General Vidal. These were part of the colleagues, these were part of the team that came to rescue the country. But guess what? They disappointed many Ugandans. And now, we are looking at time will tell whether if General Tumukunde, whatever he's saying is true. Time will tell. Remember, you can deceive people all the time, or some of the people all the time, but you cannot deceive all the people all the time. Have a good week. I'll see you next weekend. And guys, I want to thank you for joining me again, Ed, Richard, Sarah, Dennis. See you next week. And to all viewers, have a great week.